Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and with me is a man whose refrigerator is so full of beer, he's going to have to drink his way back to the food or starve. It's Dale.
And that's no problem. Let's get started.
It's a labor of love.
It is. We love that.
That's right. I can't get to the food yet, baby.
It might be a little bit stretching it, but yeah, it is what it is.
Hey, we might tell some tall tales in the Crack House.
That's right.
What's going on, dude?
Same old, same old.
We love some same old.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, because when things are going smooth, that's the way we like it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. Just leave it alone.
If it's working, leave it alone.
Yeah.
That's right.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, man. You got any good shout-outs, anybody you want to talk about?
Hey.
Dude.
How about this?
Bring it on.
We got our brand new Apple 5-star review.
Five-star.
This comes from, I was going to try to pronounce this, but I can't do it. Lahsiwo. Lasiwo. How about that?
Okay, works for me.
So anyway, it says, great podcast. These guys are great. One of the top true crime podcasts around.
Man.
And that comes from Lasiwo.
Lasiwo.
Yeah, 5-star.
Yeah, I just wonder what that means.
I don't know, but whatever. It's cool with me.
Yeah.
It just took enough time, whoever it is, took enough time to drop us a few letters in the box here, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and if anybody else wants to be like whoever took enough time to write us a Apple 5-star review.
Yeah, it helps out. It really does.
Man, it really does.
The more we get, the more people can find us, and I know it don't seem like it's a big deal, but
Yeah, it shows up on the
more,
suggested podcast, and yeah, people find us quicker.
Yeah, and seem like you fellers like it when you find it, so
Yeah, people stuck with us
yeah, we appreciate
several years.
several one of you anyway.
Yeah.
Except that one guy over in the corner.
Yeah. And the nuns we have chained up in the Crack House.
The one that yell at us about talking too long.
Yeah, we get to talking too long, and we in 3 minutes people
Get emails.
emailing us and messaging us say, y'all talk too long before you get going.
You've been talking for 2 minutes. What's up?
I mean, really. Yeah.
But anyway, it's our show, and we love you, and thanks for listening to it.
Yeah, I'm just going to give a plug about our store page. If anybody wants to go over there and get them something to wear, get you a T-shirt, get you something cool to wear, get you a tank top. It's summertime.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was cool, and last weekend we stepped out a little bit. You guys have been helping us out a little bit, so we put it back in the community. We sponsored a little thing for the local high school baseball team. We've done a little ad for us on there.
Yeah.
Get a little more exposure, and we'll play it for you maybe in this episode. How's that?
Yeah, Crack House is making a little money, so we give a little bit of back.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, the guys went out and played a good game. I think they lost 2 in a row, but they played hard and they had a great season. So we support them. We're all about community love around here.
We are.
That's right.
We certainly help them out.
That's the Burns Bulldogs. I guess we are. Give them a plug here.
Yep.
Yes.
Other than that, though, we're going to get going on this episode because we got a pretty horrific case. Because you remember a couple weeks ago we talked about Randy Kraft.
Yes, we did. That was like episode 212.
Wow.
Yes.
But yeah, Randy was a serial killer out in California. Yeah. Yeah, pretty rough stuff he did.
Yes. Yeah, that's being easy.
Yes, it is being easy, but we're coattailing off that a little bit because we're talking about a guy who was a serial killer at the same time, Randy.
At the same time.
In the same place.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's pretty horrific.
Yeah. And the bad part, there was actually 3 at the same time, and it just amazes me that much killing and slaughtering was going on. And
yeah.
Oh man, in one place.
I know. But we're talking about a guy by the name of Bill Bonin.
William.
Yeah. But just a little bit of background on Bill Bonin. He was born William George Bonin, and he was born in Willimantic, Connecticut on January the 8th, 1947. And Dale, he was the second of 3 sons born to Robert Leonard Bonin Sr. and Alice Dorothy Coate Bonin.
Yes.
Yeah. But now, get this. Both of his parents were alcoholics. Yeah. And his dad, Robert Sr., he was pretty ill-tempered.
Yeah.
He was a World War II veteran.
Man, he probably had a little bit of mental abuse coming back from that.
Well, I'm sure.
World War II, man.
Yeah.
That's some rough stuff.
Yeah, but Robert, the dad, he physically abused his wife and his kids.
Yeah, and I ain't making excuses for him. I'm just saying.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Bill's mother, she suffered from some severe mood swings.
Right.
Yeah. But it was also reported, we read, that she would frequent bingo parlors.
Mm-hmm. She going crazy. Ain't she?
Yeah, living it up.
Living it up.
While her sons, these three boys, they just remain unattended. They just stayed at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do what you want. I'm going to play some bingo.
Yeah. But she was pretty regarded as having a domineering and emasculating presence in Bill Bonin's early life.
Well, she's probably running the show, man. You know, if his dad, having his problems, or they're both drinking all the time, he's probably doing whatever.
Yeah.
She's probably having to keep everything together, playing both roles, essentially.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And even Bill's dad, Robert Sr., he was a compulsive gambler. Yeah. Because in January 1950, he gambled away their home.
What?
In a poker game. Yeah. They had a home there in Andover, Connecticut. And this forced the family.
So they had a home.
Yeah, they had a home. This forced the family to move out, and they had to go move in with Bill Bonin's maternal grandmother in Willimantic.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, I wasn't good at all.
Yeah. How'd you do in the game tonight, honey? Well, we're moving.
Pack your stuff.
Pack your
We
stuff.
lost the house.
Wow. Boy, that'd be hard to come home and tell out.
But despite all this dysfunctional stuff going on, Bill Bonin and his brothers, they were raised in the Catholic Church by their parents. And according to church records, they were baptized at one point. Yeah. But the boys, they attended the St. Mary's Catholic School, where the staff there, Dale, repeatedly made complaints about Bill Bonin's aggression toward other students.
Wow.
And he had truancy and some other misbehaviors.
So he's still pretty young here.
Yeah. And there was at one point, Bill was riding his bike, and he ran into a group of young girls.
Yeah, I mean, not ran into him like pulled up and said, "Hey, how you doing?" Run into him like and drove through him.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was briefly placed in juvenile hall. And when he got out, he returned home, and it was reported that he was more uncooperative toward his parents than ever before.
Right, so now he's home and he's mad.
Yeah.
He's still got the same thoughts in his head, but now he's mad.
Yes.
Because you sent me away.
Yeah. And in September of 1953, Bill and his older brother, Robert Jr., they were placed at the Franco-American School. Yeah, that's the name of the school, Franco-American. Yeah, not the spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Not that. It's the name of the school. It was a Catholic convent, and it was in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Well, you was thinking the same thing I was. As soon as you were
Old Spaghettios, yeah.
Yes.
But that's the name of the school, Franco-American.
Wow. Wonder if there's any kind of
noodling.
Yeah. Wonder if there's any whatever.
I don't know.
Okay, go ahead.
No, but this convent, it enforced some harsh discipline by the staff, with some extreme assault going on. And Bill Bonin, he recalled nuns forcing him to punch a fence when he misbehaved.
So he's just got to go out there and punch the wood or whatever?
I guess.
Dang, dude.
And records even indicated that he was observed to function well in this structured environment.
So you got somebody with some anger problems going on, who's pissed off at his parents and seen him here, and you want him to go here and punch a fence.
Yeah.
That's going to help.
But they were, according to some witnesses, Bill was bullied and was once defended by another orphan in 1955. And according to Bill, this individual, he escorted him to a restroom there at the school for some sexual advances. Yeah, and tied his hands with a towel at Bill's request. So Bill had this kid that took him to the bathroom, put his hands behind his back, and his hands were tied behind him. Yeah.
So the kid's not Bill's?
Not Bill's, but the kid who took him to the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, he forced Bill to have sex with him. And then when it was done, Bill was then bound and sexually assaulted by the student. So they took turns. I don't know. Yeah.
It's not good either way.
But this is what gets me. Neither parent of Bill's ever visited him or his brother there at school.
Man, that's sorry.
Yeah, they did.
That damn all-night bingo parlor.
I guess.
Man, it's pretty sad.
But Bill Bonin was to remain at the convent school until May of 1955, when he returned to live with his parents in a home that was owned by his maternal grandmother in Mansfield.
55. So that makes him what, about 8?
Yeah,
somewhere there, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, crazy.
Trying to keep up here because he's really young, and that's not good.
No,
And he's had a rough life already, dude.
I know. Yeah, and while they were there in Mansfield, Bill Bonin attended the Annie Vinton Elementary School with his younger brother, and his name was Paul. And there, Bill was ridiculed, and he had a nickname called Bugsy Bonin.
Bugsy Bonin.
Yeah, and he became a juvenile delinquent who quarreled with the other students. Now, Bill recalled feeling shame for his sexual attraction to younger children, and he even had a fascination with the male teachers, Dale.
Is this still when he's 8?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, I guess he already knows where everything is because everybody's done made him see it.
Yeah. He's done been exposed.
Yes. The hard way.
But Bill recalled feeling shame for his sexual attraction to younger children and the male teachers. And there were even neighbors later failed to recollect his parents spending time with their children. And one worried neighbor observed that the kids were unkempt and even hungry.
Yeah.
And they provided meals and clean clothes to Bill and his brothers just out of sympathy.
Yeah, they felt bad for him.
Yeah.
I think they found out they was having to cook their own meals and then stuff, and then their, the clothes weren't getting washed or anything because, that all-night bingo parlor and poker game or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Now, there was at one point the children were left with their maternal grandfather, and this was Bill's mother's dad. And Dale, he was known as a child molester. Yeah. Who had even sexually abused her when she was a kid.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And she later speculated that her father had even molested these boys.
Well, I'm sure he did.
Mm-hmm. And Bill and his brother Paul were also left with his brother Robert, the older brother, who was having to receive the brunt of their father's abuse and would often beat and belittle his 2 younger brothers. So I guess he was just paying it forward kind of thing.
I guess so. I guess just since he got beat, he was just going to pass it on down the line.
Yeah. My daddy beat me, I'm going to beat you.
Yeah, you're next.
So having, no consequences of parental supervision, Bill would go out and steal hubcaps, license plates, and even the metal tags off of vehicles around town.
I seen that, and I was like, what the hell is he going to do with it? Was he selling them?
Unless he's selling it.
Who's going to buy a tag?
I don't know.
He got in trouble for it.
Yeah, and in 1957, he was placed in a juvenile detention center for these things and some other petty crimes he'd done.
And that's about 10 years old here.
Yeah, and while incarcerated, Bill was molested by an adult counselor.
Good God, he can't get away from it.
He can't. And following his release, he started sexually fondling his younger brother Paul.
So now it's his turn to pass it on.
He is.
But I guess, we're looking at this from the outside, but if you think about it from his point of view, and I ain't making excuses for nobody, but this is all they know.
That's all they've ever seen, man. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, not making excuses.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you got to get the whole story.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, just look at it, man, this life, he's only 10 years old and everything he's been through already.
Yeah.
This ain't going to be good.
So after 6 months of this Bill sexually fondling his younger brother Paul, Paul went to his mother, and Bill was forced to sleep in a separate bedroom after that point.
Right.
Yeah. Now Bill,
she probably knew what was going on because that's the family thing.
Yeah. And Bill later confessed to molesting young boys, and he even exposed himself to a 10-year-old girl. And there was one time, Dale, when Bill was about a teenager, he even attempted to have an incestuous act with an older female cousin.
Keep it in the family, I guess.
Man. So we're moving up. Bill's a teenager about now in 1959. I guess he's about
12.
Yeah, 12, 13.
12, 13, yeah.
Yeah. He attended a middle school that was adjacent to the Coventry High School. This is still in Connecticut. And despite showing a strong aptitude for, math and science, he had just mediocre grades. And in late 1960, the family faced the prospect of foreclosure on the home.
Oh, no.
And Bill's mother kicked their father out of the home.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah,
Of course, I don't know how much better she is, but at least she ain't abusing them.
yeah. But she did get custody of the 3 boys,
Well, good.
and their parents reconciled later. Yeah, they got back together.
Okay.
After their father was offered some pretty good employment as a machinist. This was in Donnie, California.
Okay.
So they was going to have to move. So in early 1962, they purchased a tract home in nearby Torrance, California.
I don't know what a tract home is, but I'm glad he got one.
Yeah. Now, Bill attended North High School in Torrance, where he was regarded as a social outcast.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
However, Paul, the younger brother, recollected that, him as an outwardly well-behaved teenager, Bill was uncomfortable around his peers, and it is not known if he had, formed any relationships or friendships throughout his adolescence.
Well, probably not, because he didn't have no idea what friendships are.
I know.
All he knows is been thrown down and poked.
Yeah, sexually
Seriously?
assaulted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I ain't, taking that lightly, but I mean, it's just, damn.
But this
How
was,
do you interact with other people when you have no idea how?
yeah, he's never been taught.
No.
Mm-mm. And he would spend his time in a bowling alley. He got to bowling,
Well, that's probably a good release for him.
I guess. But in his,
Something, to
Yeah.
focus on, get his mind right.
in his teenage years, Bill held an intense interest in pedophilia,
All right, I'll take that back.
But-
Get his mind right.
but kept his feelings a secret.
Okay.
This became a basis of conflict with his mother and leading to frequent arguments. And he rarely attempted to interact with girls, but once reluctantly dated a girl named Linda just to please his mom. His mama hooked him up. Yeah. And I think she was even wanting him to get engaged
Yeah. I
at
think
one
so.
point.
Yeah.
Because she thought hooking him up with a woman would just straighten him out and change him. And I guess her thinking that he would be with a woman, that's what he would want.
Right, or just straighten him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Bill dropped out of high school in 1966. And he even molested several neighborhood children.
Well, either go to school or stay home and have the kids over.
And his mom reportedly just refused to acknowledge these acts.
So she can see it escalating, but she just blind eye.
Yeah. But frequently worried that he would be arrested.
Dang, that would have been the best.
Yeah. But eventually she evicted him from their house. For it was undisclosed reasons, but she kicked him out of the house. And Bill was lacking motivation and frequently borrowing money from his parents. And it was this point Bill joined the United States Air Force.
Yeah, I think his mother was like, maybe you need to join the Air Force.
Yeah, this was in December of 1966.
Yeah, go find something to do.
And he also got engaged to Linda, like we talked about.
Right.
And this was, like we said, this was largely determined by Bill's mom.
Yeah, she's just trying to get his attention away from these boys and see maybe he needs a real woman
Yeah.
to open his eyes.
But another crazy thing, during this engagement, Bill repeatedly told Linda that he had this recurring nightmare about the sexual assault of a younger woman.
Yeah, it was wild, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like a faceless woman, and then he buried her in an unmarked grave or something.
Yeah.
Or something to do with that. It was like a real weird dream.
That's what he's telling his fiance.
He kept telling her this. I'm sure that was good. Made her feel better about
I
everything.
know. But now, during Bill's military service, he completed the GED. He got his GED diploma, and he served as a cook for 4 months in Alaska.
Okay.
And while they're in Alaska,
Like I say, shipped him off, didn't they?
yeah, they did. And while they're in Alaska, he was actually arrested for theft. This was on October the 25th of 1967. But the charges were dropped.
Yeah, well, they're getting ready to ship him off again.
Yeah, they sent him over to Vietnam.
Right. So, okay, we're going to drop the charges, but guess what?
You're going to Vietnam.
Going to Vietnam.
And he was stationed at Phu Lao Base Camp. And he served 5 months of active duty as an aerial gunner.
He logged in like 700 hours now.
Yeah.
Combat and patrol time. That's a lot.
700 hours, yeah.
700 hours. Yeah, and you go from a cook to shooting people out of a helicopter.
Yeah, that's just weird.
I guess they taught him come out of the kitchen and say, here, this is how you shoot this, and get in the helicopter. That's where you're going.
And Bill Bonin later claimed that this wartime experiences instilled his misanthropic beliefs. He just didn't value life at all.
Yeah, it kind of taught him that human life was overrated.
That's what he said.
That was his quote.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, for one thing I learned while I was over there, that human life is overrated.
Mm-hmm. But there was one time while he was over there, he actually risked his own life while under enemy fire to save a wounded fellow airman.
Yeah, he was in the other side of the helicopter, and he was shot and about fell out. So Bill left his gun to go across the chopper and grab him and pull him back into safety before jumping back on the trigger to shoot the enemy on the ground.
Yeah. And for this bravery, Bill received a medal of recognition for his bravery.
Right. So it's in there somewhere, man. You ain't totally rotten.
No. Yeah, it's a Good Conduct Award medal. I think that's what he got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But while over there in Vietnam, he said he engaged in consensual relations with 4 young girls and had a number of homosexual encounters while there in Vietnam.
Yeah, he said over there that pretty much anything goes, so I'm sure he was happy with what he was doing.
And Dale, he also confessed to sexually assaulting 2 soldiers
He can't help again.
under his command at gunpoint around the time of the Tet Offensive.
Wow. Well, just when you say something good,
Yeah.
it goes...
But Bill served nearly 3 years before receiving an honorable discharge on October the 25th, 1968.
So 700 hours in 3 years.
Yeah, it's a lot.
He pulled, in a chopper,
Yeah.
being shot at.
All the time.
Yeah.
But when he was honorably discharged, he was 21 years old. And when he returned home, he discovered that this Linda, that he was engaged with, had given birth to their son.
Mm-hmm.
And she had left him to marry another man.
With already all the things he's already been through, and now he's in Vietnam for 3 years, going through all that, and then coming home, and then this happens.
Mm-hmm. He was extremely frustrated.
Right.
Yeah. So he started working as a gas station attendant, and he returned to live in Donnie, California, to live with his parents.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't like that.
He resented it. And there were several family members noted differences in his behavior after his time in Vietnam.
Good or bad, or did they say?
They didn't say. Bill Bonin later refused to explain any of these changes.
So maybe bad.
Yeah. So on November the 17th, Bill picked up a 14-year-old boy. His name was Billy Jones in Arcadia while driving his mom's car.
Cruising, man.
Yeah, and Bill offered to take him home. He attempted to flee the vehicle, and this was in response to Bill's repeated questions about homosexuality.
Yeah, he had a thing where he would give somebody a ride and pick them up, and then they start riding down the road and you go, "Are you gay?" And or "Are you this? Are you that?" And they're like, "Whoa, what's happening here?"
Yeah.
So I'm sure it was kind of getting freaked out, especially at this is like 1970 or somewhere in there.
Yeah,
68,
69,
yeah.
68, 69.
Right.
So Bill drove him to a nearby shopping center, and there he handcuffed and raped him, knocking him unconscious in the process. He then dropped this Billy Jones off at a park and returned home.
Wow.
And when Billy got home, his mother reported this to the police.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, she reported Bill Bonin to the police. Now, on November the 26th, this is just a few days later, Bill picked up a 17-year-old hitchhiker. His name was John Treadwell in Torrance, California. And Bill began asking him about fags and homosexuality.
Quote.
Yeah, that's their words, not ours.
Yeah, but to make sure we put that in there.
Yeah, and then it's when he accelerated the vehicle and he produced a handgun. And Bill parked the car in a secluded area. He then raped Treadwell and bludgeoned him with a tire iron. And Bill threatened that he had friends who would aid in avenging him if Treadwell told the man of what happened.
So he's acting like he's got like a mafia friends or something?
What he's saying, yeah.
Take care of the problem.
If you tell anybody, I'm going to come after you. We're going to send some people after you.
Right.
Yeah. So on December the 4th, it was reported to the Torrance police by 17-year-old Alan Pruitt that a man with medium-length dark hair and olive complexion had offered him a ride before getting off the highway and handcuffing him, who was extremely sexually assaulted in the vehicle.
And this is so close together.
Yeah, these days are just days apart.
It's like 10 days, and then it's like, well, it's about every 10 days right now.
Yeah.
Give or take.
So it's about a month later, on January the 1st of 1969.
I guess he had to take a break for Christmas.
I guess Christmas, yeah. This is New Year's Day. Bill offered a ride to a 12-year-old. His name was Lawrence Bretman in Hermosa Beach. 12-year-old. And he was ignoring the boy's pleas to let him go. And Bill began threatening him, and he parked and forced Bretman to perform oral sex on him, and he molested him and robbed him at gunpoint. He then threatened to kill Bretman if he ever reported the incident to the police. So he's just ramping up and just
He just pulled out of the driveway and put his foot to the floor, didn't he?
He did.
There's no build up or breaking or nothing here. He's just going to it.
So 12 days later, on January the 12th, Bill reportedly picked up an 18-year-old hitchhiker. His name was Jesus Mong. And asking him again,
same thing.
About homosexuality before offering him $20 to perform oral sex. And this when Mong, he attempted to get out of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And Bonin physically and sexually assaulted him.
Yeah, I think he punched him in the stomach really hard.
And he was handcuffed and raped. And Bonin threatened Mong, stating, "I'll rip your nuts off if you don't cool it."
Dang.
That's what he told him.
Yeah.
So by this point, intensive efforts were being made by the local police to locate this serial rapist that was going around California.
Well, heck, you think? I mean, he's just busting them out.
And they had to be describing him pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, he's letting them all go.
And on the 28th of January, there was a Segundo policewoman. She confronted Bill Bonin, who had frightened a 16-year-old runaway who was present with him in his mom's car.
Whoa.
And this little boy's name, his name was Timothy Wilson. And he was noting Bonin's frantic state and his similarity to the profile of the rapist they were looking for. And
she noticed. Okay.
Yeah. And she searched and handcuffed him.
Right.
And Bonin repeatedly advised her to incarcerate him before insisting he was not responsible for his actions.
What?
Yeah.
So he's breaking down as soon as he got caught.
Yeah. And he was indicted on 5 counts of kidnapping, 4 counts of sodomy, 1 count of oral copulation, and 1 count of child molestation against the 5 individuals he abducted and assaulted since the previous November.
My goodness.
Yeah.
5 counts kidnapping.
Yeah.
Sodomy, oral copulation, child molestation.
Yeah.
Against 5 people. Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
My goodness.
So in March, Bill Bonin underwent 2 psychiatric examinations, and he was determined to be a sexual psychopath who had little control over his impulses and showed signs of depression and inappropriate emotional responses. And initially denying any childhood abuse, Bill then confessed to being molested at 8 years old.
Yeah, I think when they first asked him, he denied it. And then finally he come around to admitting it all. But he's a real smart dude, so he figures it out quick. Yeah,
and he suspected he was even molested on various occasions between the ages of 9 and 12 years old.
Oh, yeah. Duh.
So in May of that same year, Bill recounted to a probation officer his recent stressful separation, that Linda, I guess, and admitted his guilt in molesting young boys. Although he also expressed desire to start a family and become a pilot upon his release. He said that his Vietnam service contributed to his criminal behavior, emphasizing his difficulties in seducing female partners. I guess being able to pick up women.
Right.
Yeah, it caused him to not be able to talk to girls, I guess.
Well, you're usually not going to go up to the girls and go, "Hey, are you homosexual? And will you do this for $20?"
That's true. Yeah, you might get smacked. Yeah.
I don't think his talking to people or courting people are the same in his brain,
I guess. And he was evaluated to be seriously lacking insight and responsibility for crimes committed since his childhood. And he pleaded guilty to molestation and forced oral copulation and was sentenced to the Atascadero State Hospital in June of 1969 as a mentally disordered sex offender. And he was considered, to be able to receive treatment for this.
So he's 22 here?
Yeah.
Whew.
Man, he's lived a lifetime in just 22 years.
Yeah.
So Bonin arrived at the Atascadero State Hospital on June 17th of 1969, and he went through a ton of psychiatric examinations.
Oh, I'm sure. They probably laid it to him.
But it was revealed that he had an IQ of 121. Pretty smart guy.
Yeah, he's way smart.
Yeah. And he displayed traits of manic depression, sexual sadism disorder, and antisocial personality disorder. And a physical examination, when they checked him out, he had extensive scars on his head and buttocks.
Wow.
Which he claimed to have no memory of getting these scars, but were likely sustained while he was at this Franco-American orphanage.
So they're thinking it's like repressed memory from where he was, all this beating he took.
That's what they're thinking, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And they also noted the psychological and emotional implications of Bill's unhealthy relationship with his mother, upon whom he remained emotionally dependent upon.
Yeah. And even though sometimes, she thought he was like a worthless human being, it seems like them two stay together the longest. As far as, I don't know. I guess who else is he going to talk to?
I guess.
I don't know, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I've never seen anything where his dad thought about all this.
No, nothing. Mm-mm. All I heard was he gambled the house away a couple times.
Yeah. I guess he's just busy drinking and gambling.
Bad. He's really bad at both, I think.
But while Bill was incarcerated, he regularly attended group therapy sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And the psychiatrist noted his defensive, aggressive attitude towards other patients and his refusal to acknowledge his homosexuality. I guess he was fighting it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, a lot of talk is like that, they're saying maybe he's fighting it, but I don't know. A lot of this, when he's in here, I think a lot of this is he's telling them what they want to hear.
You think?
Yeah, because he's so smart, and he knows how to get out of wherever he's at and what to do to tell them what they want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I think. But could be.
Could be very well. But Bill willingly participated in experimental programs and was generally considered a non-violent and helpful and consensuous patient by the staff. And
What a guy.
Yeah, and he had recited what he perceived psychiatrists desired to hear from him, like Dale talked about, believing that he can manipulate them into granting him an early release.
Right. Yeah, he knows how to play the game. That's what I'm thinking.
And one of the psychiatrists even wrote in his papers that Bill wanted to straighten himself out, but doesn't know how to go about it.
Well, and that right there, that goes back to what we talked about right at the beginning. That's all he knows.
Yeah.
He might want to have a family. He might want to do this, but he don't know nothing but...
He don't know how to get there.
No. All he knows is sexual abuse and power and, whatever you want, you have to take it from whoever you're going to get it from, because that's
right.
all he's known.
That's all he knows.
From his parents, from his grandparents, from the school, there was a priest at that Catholic place that was doing him the same way, holding him down and taking what he wanted.
Yeah.
So this is all he knows.
Mm-hmm.
And then go to Vietnam and kill people every day. 700 hours of shooting people.
Shooting out of a helicopter all day long.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What do you expect? If you put all this this is just a recipe for a monster, dude.
Yeah, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in 1971, Bill was sent to the California Medical Facility, having been declared unsuitable for further treatment due to his repeated sexual engagement with the inmates, 2 of whom were mentally challenged.
Man.
Yeah.
He just can't help it.
I know.
I guess.
Yeah.
Or don't want to. I don't know.
And Bill was subject to further psychiatric examination, which dealt with hostility toward his father and his older brother. And it was noted that his sexual behaviors were compulsive in response to stress.
Mm-hmm.
He also sought to raise money for the family of another prisoner and reportedly applied willingly for at least one treatment program. So it seems like, he's wanting to change, but he just can't get there. He just can't get there.
Right. Yeah, doing that, just doing all this stuff he's doing, and then I think a couple times also in that facility, a bunch of them patients beat him as well for doing what he was doing, especially when he was having sex with the mentally challenged folks.
Yeah.
I think other patients just beat him down.
Yep, so get this. On June 11th of 1974, Bill was released from prison after doctors concluded that he was no longer a danger to the health and safety of others.
So he was in here for 3 years.
Yes.
Was this the whole thing? When did he first go to prison? 69 to 74. So actually 5 years total.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's for 5 kidnappings and all that sexual
sodomy
assault
and
all that.
Yeah.
So it's a soldier with a bunch of...
Yeah, but he told them what he wanted them to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how he got out.
Right.
Yeah, they believe
he's smart. Yes, you're right. He played them.
Played the game.
Yes, he did.
Yep. So he was released in June of 74, and in July of 74, Bill rented an apartment in Hollywood, California, with intentions of circulating within the adult gay community. He was just wanting to live that lifestyle.
So he's kind of accepting what's going on, and he wants to go where all the big boys play.
Yeah, but he wasn't able to do this because of his poor social skills.
I get that.
Yeah, and he soon relocated back to his parents' new house, and this was on 10282 Angel Street in Downey, California.
Right, because he knows no social skills.
No. And
it's straight from whatever he wants to sex.
Yeah.
There's no in between.
He don't know how to be satisfied. He don't know how to satisfy himself.
Right, or just be quote unquote normal.
Yeah.
Just, the thing.
Yeah. Chill out.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
The chill out.
Yeah, but while he was living with his parents, he briefly worked as a bartender in Fountain Valley and then switched to being a truck driver for the Montebello delivery firm. This was it was named Dependable Drive Away. And this was in December of 1974.
All right.
And he was fired from the job in February of 75 for wrecking a trailer.
Damn, he didn't last long.
And in March, Bill attended community college classes for 2 semesters. And around this time, Dale, he would start picking up hitchhikers for the purpose of having sex. And eventually establishing serious relationship with a single mom.
What?
Yeah. He was picking up hitchhikers.
Okay, we don't know what sex these hitchhikers were.
No. But
I'm assuming males.
But then he got into a relationship with a single mother.
Okay, so maybe he's coming out and he tried the gay community. It was just overwhelming. He went back home. He's a bartender. Got him a job. Okay, then I'm going to try this and try to go to straight and narrow.
Yeah. But on September the 8th, while cruising for young boys, this
didn't last long.
This was one evening, he encountered a 14-year-old. His name was David Allen McVicker. And he was hitchhiking in Garden Grove. And McVicker accepted a ride from Bonin. And he was going to drive him to his parents' home in Huntington Beach.
Right. And to kind of put this in perspective, we watched, a lot of stuff on this. And this, they talked to Alan here. And he said back then, a lot of people talk about hitchhiking and going on. And to kind of put it in perspective, there was no phones, no Ubers, none of that stuff, and no buses, anything, and they would all go out to the beach. He said it was really common to see like 125 kids leaving at the end of the day with the thumb stuck out to get a ride home.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like just these, few bad luck folks were hitchhiking. It was just pretty normal back then.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
But shortly after McVicker got into Bonin's car, Bonin asked him if he was homosexual.
Yep.
And McVicker told him that he was not.
He was not.
And he asked to leave the vehicle, which prompted Bill to speed up the car.
Right.
And when McVicker attempted to leave the car, Bill produced a gun and drove him to a deserted field.
Yeah, so he started to jump out of the car, and when he did, he turned and looked back, and he had a gun in his head.
Yeah.
He said, "If you jump, I will kill you."
That's what he told him. And when they got to this deserted field, Bill ordered David McVickers to undress, and then he beat him and raped him. And Bill strangled him with his T-shirt and a tire iron.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the way he would do that, he would wrap the T-shirt around the neck and then put the tire iron through the sleeve holes and then twist it.
Start twisting.
Yes.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, that was his go-to.
Yeah, and David McVicker was pleading for his life.
Right.
And at one point, he actually, before taking his last breath, he just said, "God help me."
Yeah.
And this is when Bill immediately stopped and even apologized and started driving David McVicker back. And they just engaged in some casual conversation.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for choking you, buddy.
Yeah. And he even stated, "You know what? You're an all right guy. I was going to kill you, but I want to come back for you later and use you again."
My God.
That's what he told him.
Wouldn't that make your blood run cold?
Oh, yeah.
But I guess at this point, you're still glad the blood's running, huh?
Yeah. But McVicker, he got a hold of his mom, and they promptly informed the Garden Grove police
Heck yeah.
of this. And on October the 11th of 1975, Bill Bonin was arrested for 2 assaults months later. And upon arrest, he informed law enforcement that the next time there won't be any more witnesses. He was charged with rape and forcible oral copulation of a minor and the attempted abduction of the 15-year-old boy 2 days after Bonin's assault on McVicker.
Damn.
And this second victim rejected Bill's offer of $35 for sex.
Big spender.
Yeah, before getting out of Bonin's van and telling him to leave. In response, Bill drove the van onto a sidewalk and attempted to hit him with the van.
Yeah, he's pissed off. He tried several times to run him over.
Yeah. Now, Bill pleaded guilty to both charges on December 31st, 1975, and was sentenced to serve between 1 and 15 years imprisonment at the California Men's Facility in St. Louis Obispo. In 1977, Bill Bonin was subject to further psychiatric examination, and it was indicated his sexual involvement with the young boys related to his mother's micromanagement of his life.
Man, you'd think they'd have books on this guy by now.
You'd think.
All these places and facilities he's been in and been held at, and and all that. It looks like they would have so much background on him.
More if they were communicating.
Probably not.
And in March of 1978, Bill Bonin's father suffered a major stroke. Yeah, which was produced or induced by his alcohol addiction, is what they said.
Wow.
And this caused him to be hospitalized at the Long Beach Veterans Administration Hospital. This is where his mother worked as a vocational nurse.
Oh, wow.
And in prison, Bill Bonin completed math courses and trained as a machinist. And this was just so he could get a job later on.
Well, his dad was a machinist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he showed some significant progress in these therapy sessions. As a result, he was released from detention on October the 11th with 18 months supervised probation.
So he wasn't in there hardly any longer.
No,
2 years?
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah. Now, upon his release on November the 1st, Bill moved into an apartment in the Kingswood Village complex, and it was located approximately 1 mile from his parents' house. And he became acquainted with his 43-year-old neighbor. His name was Everett Scott Frazier. And Bill became a regular attendee at Frazier's parties. And this is where young men, drugs, and alcohol were there.
It was just the way to go.
Yeah. And Frazier considered him respectful and just a nice individual.
Yeah.
And frequently introduced Bonin to his young male acquaintances.
Yeah, and he become, he was always at the parties. He always invited him over.
And the two talked about their homosexuality.
There we go.
Yep. Now, the following month, Bill Bonin established a relationship with a married mother who had a criminal record for child cruelty. And he would take trips to Anaheim with her and her kids.
So I wonder, because these pop up every now and again between all this wild, or his crazy spells or whatever. I wonder if he's just doing this for his mama, or if he really is interested in these ladies.
I don't know. I think he might be trying to please his mama.
I mean, I know he's only living right around the corner from them, and stuff. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just odd, because it'll be like real bad, and then he is in a relationship with the lady. Real bad. So I don't know.
It could be. Now, in April of 1979, Bonin's parole supervision was concluded. Bonin and his brother Paul relocated to Silverado, California, and ran a bar called the Alpine Inn.
Oh, wow.
And it was continually under scrutiny for noise violations.
Partying.
Yeah. An incident occurred involving Bill Bonin reportedly locking a 16-year-old runaway in a room in this building.
Oh, my.
And threatening at knife point to bury his body in the hills. And Bill was unable to get a permanent liquor license due to his criminal record, and the business venture was short-lived.
Well, at least somebody's looking at his paperwork.
Yeah. And it was later there in April of 1979, Bill Bonin purchased a Ford Econoline van while working in his older brother's plumbing business.
So now he's got his own ride.
He's got a van. Yeah. Now, getting back to Bill Bonin a little bit and going to these parties at Frazier's house. This was the older man. He was going to
his neighbor, right?
Yeah. He became acquainted with a 21-year-old. His name was Vernon Robert Butts. And there was an 18-year-old he became friends with. His name was Gregory Matthew Miley. Now, Vernon Butts was born and raised in Norwalk. And he was 9 years old when his father died. And reportedly, he came from a broken home. And it was described by acquaintances as Vernon being shy and easily led by others.
Wow.
And Vernon attempted suicide on 3 occasions prior to meeting Bill Bonin.
So he's a pretty fragile guy.
Yeah, very. And at the time of his initial acquaintance with Bill Bonin, Butts had developed a local reputation as being kind of eccentric, who had recently been fired from his employment as a magic store clerk.
Yeah.
Due to his unkempt appearance.
You don't have that.
Yeah, he didn't take a bath.
Right.
Yeah. And but he was also
He's probably partying all the time.
Yeah, and he was also bisexual and frequently abused drugs and alcohol.
There you go.
Yeah. And he was also a drifter who had been in and out of penal institutions and held an extensive criminal record for offenses such as burglary, arson, and he was later speculated by prosecutors to have developed a fascination with sadistic homosexuality activity while incarcerated. He claimed to have been both enamored with and terrified by Bill Bonin.
I bet.
He said Bill Bonin had kind of like a hypnotic control over him.
Well, like I said, he's a pretty fragile guy, and Bonin's just brilliant.
Yeah.
He's smart, and that's who he knows how to prey on people.
And although they lived extremely heterosexual lifestyles, Bill Bonin and Vernon Butts soon became lovers.
Yes.
And Vernon Butts, he held these mystery parties at his place.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a murder mystery.
Yeah.
A whodunit thing. But he had all kind of wild stuff going on. This guy had like a couple caskets in his house, one he used for like a phone booth, and I think one was like kind of like a coffee table, but he also used it to have his girlfriend in, and they would do their thing in there. And
when he had a girlfriend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they were living like they were
Heterosexual.
Yeah, but they were doing this on the side.
Yeah.
And he was pretty into, I think he was into the occult and a lot of that stuff too. And didn't you say he also cosplayed Darth Vader?
Yeah, dressed up like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. So, yeah, he's a pretty wild guy. I think, what did he say, he worked in a porcelain factory?
Porcelain factory,
so
yeah.
Part-time magician, I was going to say musician. Magician and worked in a porcelain factory.
Yeah.
I got you.
So that's unusual.
It is.
Yeah, and the other guy, his last name was Miley. He was an illiterate Texas native and high school dropout, and he had an IQ of 56.
Right, so somebody else he could kind of do his bidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was raised in Lakewood, and Miley's mother reportedly had a series of dysfunctional marriages and severely neglected him. And
See a pattern here?
Yeah. So, and Miley even viewed Bonin as something of a father figure, and often spent time with Bill Bonin in exchange for sexual relationships. He'd take him to the movies and take him out to eat and
buy him clothes and stuff.
Yeah. Just
here, I'll buy you a pair of pants. Come on over.
Yeah, that's what he'd do.
Yeah.
Now, talking a little bit more about Bill Bonin, he usually selected his victims, and they were mostly young male hitchhikers, schoolboys, or occasionally male prostitutes.
Probably whoever he could find that was young enough for him.
And the victims he had aged between 12 and 19, and they were predominantly Caucasian or Latino. They were slender and pale, and most of them had long hair.
So you think it's his people he's looking at that he knows he can overpower? That's
I think so, yeah.
So he can feel powerful.
Yep. And he either enticed them or forced them into his Ford Econoline van, where they were overpowered and had their arms and legs bound with a combination of handcuffs, wire, or cords. And there they were sexually assaulted, extensively beaten, and tortured before typically being killed by strangulation with their own T-shirt and a tire iron.
Yeah, that twisting method.
And even in order to minimize the chances of his victims getting out of the van, Bill removed the door handles from the passenger side of the vehicle on the inside, even the rear door.
Yeah, wouldn't that be scary?
Yeah.
You try to go for it and the handles are gone.
I know. And he even stowed ligatures, knives, pliers, and wire coat hangers and other such instruments in his vehicle to help restrain and torture his victims.
Dang.
And the victims were usually killed inside his van before their bodies were discarded along the various freeways. And in an apparent effort to weaken investigators, Bill Bonin often discarded his victims' bodies in counties far from their abduction area.
Yeah, he went really wide. I mean, in several different counties. So he was just trying to make it difficult to figure out what was going on.
I know. But there was one attorney that was present for Bonin's eventual court, when everything went to court later. He said the escalating levels of brutality he had exhibited toward his victims had been similar to that of a drug addict, and requiring an even greater increase of dosage to maintain this euphoria.
So it's like a heroin.
Yeah, a high he would get from these murders. And Bonin also likened his urges to addiction, emphasizing to neurologists his feelings of extreme relentlessness and sexual frustration in the hours prior to his murders. So I guess he would get antsy before.
So it's kind of release or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
that's scary.
And that he felt an intense sense of excitement as he drove in search of his victims. But get this, he would reserve Sundays for his girlfriend.
Yeah. I think they went roller skating or something.
Yeah.
So we can go out and rape and plunder on Friday and Saturday, but I got to go roller skating Sunday.
If he had a girlfriend, he'd go roller skating.
Mm.
Yeah. And Bill Bonin also later described his pleasure at hearing his victims scream and sodomizing them.
Yeah.
And there was a Dr. Albert Rosenstein. He was a forensic psychologist, and he predicted the killer was an intelligent sex offender in his late 20s or early 30s, had spent time in a psychiatric facility, and was abused as a child. He said that while bisexual, the killer had never been comfortable with their homosexuality and is repulsed by his actions. This is how he described this killer that was going around.
That's the same thing he said about Robert Kraft.
Yeah. So now, in May of 1979, the first murder for which Bonin was charged was that of a 13-year-old. His name was Thomas Glenn Lundgren.
So he's ramping it up now.
Yeah. Lundgren was last seen leaving his parents' house in Reseda. This was on May the 28th, 1979. And shortly before his abduction, Lundgren had reportedly told friends a man had offered him, or actually to meet him at a skate park to take photos of him for a skateboarding magazine. Yeah.
That's odd.
Yeah, and Lundgren's partially clothed body was found the same afternoon in Agora. His clothes and severed genitals were discovered in a nearby field.
Man, that sounds like Robert Kraft too, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. An autopsy revealed that Lundgren had suffered emasculation and extensive bludgeoning. In addition, he had been slashed across the throat, stabbed, and strangled to death.
My goodness.
And there was an expert said that Bonin's brutality was likely an attempt to silence his homosexual attraction to Lundgren. And Bonin was assisted by Vernon Butts on this murder.
Wow.
Yeah, Vernon helped him.
Yeah.
But this murder here, it was actually thought that...
Rodney Alcala.
Yeah, Rodney Alcala.
The Dayton game killer.
Yeah, because he was a photographer.
Right. Well, that was his MO. He would take his camera out and then say, I want to go take pictures of you, and take them somewhere, and then end up killing them. But it was mostly girls.
It was.
Yeah, so I don't know. I know they were looking at him first for this, and so there's another killer that's around the same time.
Rodney Alcala. We covered him.
Not even part of this. Yeah, we did a two-parter on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty wild.
I know.
But yeah, so I don't know. This, like we had talked about this, it could have been him. I don't think so, because he was more. It was all girls, older girls.
That's right.
And then I would say if it's going to be somebody not him, it'd be more toward Robert Kraft. But yeah, I don't know. It's probably Bill Bonin.
I know.
Yeah.
And on August the 4th, Bill Bonin drove from Silverado Canyon to Westminster to spend time with Vernon Butts.
Mm-hmm.
And he soon suggested they go and rape and murder a teenage hitchhiker.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, and Vernon Butts was all for this. And Bill Bonin encountered a 17-year-old boy. His name was Mark Shelton, near Beach Boulevard. And Bill offered $400 for sexual services. And according to Bonin, he masturbated Shelton before Vernon Butts sexually assaulted him. And Bill drove into Canyon Pass in San Bernardino County as Shelton had oral sex with him.
So they're riding around doing this.
Yes, in the back of the van. And Bill Bonin soon parked the van and raped him. And enraged with his fear and resistance, Bill Bonin sexually assaulted him, and Bonin and Butts physically assaulted him until he lost consciousness. And he was also violated with foreign objects, including a stick, causing him to enter a state of shock that proved fatal.
Wow.
And he was discarded by a gravel road along near Canyon Pass.
So he just died.
Yeah, from the
shock.
Yeah, the shock killed him. Man. Now the next night, to get this, Bonin and Butts, they encountered a 17-year-old West German student. He was traveling, walking across the country, hitchhiking across the country.
Yeah, he'd been in the U.S. for a couple months.
Yeah, his name was Marcus Grabs. And like I said, he was attempting to hitchhike from the Pacific Coast Highway. And according to Bill Bonin, he engaged in consensual relations with this Marcus Grabs,
Right.
who agreed to be bound with lengths of cord and ignition wire. And Bill then retrieved a knife and intimidated Grabs as Butts drove toward Bonin's home. Yeah, drove the van home. And when they got there, Grabs was again raped and beaten. And Grabs reportedly broke loose and punched Bill Bonin. And this caused Bill to strangle him.
It pissed him off.
Yeah.
He took that knife that he was trying to intimidate him with and just started stabbing.
Yeah, he strangled him and stabbed him.
He just said he just started plunging the knife anywhere and everywhere.
And he stabbed him 77 times.
Yes, 77.
And
Jesus.
his body was discarded in Malibu Creek the following day.
77 times.
I don't even see how you can count that many times. The wounds have to overlap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on August the 9th, Bill Bonin was again detained for molesting a 17-year-old boy from Dana Point. This violation of the conditions of his parole should have resulted in Bill Bonin being returned to prison
Heck yeah.
at the Orange County Jail. However, an administrative error committed prior to Bonin's scheduled court date resulted in him being released.
What the hell?
Yeah, so on August 13th...
So administrative error set him free.
Yes. Now, on August 13th, this Frazier, the older gay man that was his neighbor...
Right, with the parties.
Yeah, drove to collect Bill Bonin from jail. And he later recollected that as he drove Bonin home, Bonin said, "No one's going to testify again."
Yeah, it's never going to happen to me again.
That's why, yeah.
That's kind of chilling, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that just tells you something right there.
There ain't nobody going away no more.
Yeah, nobody leaves the death van.
That's right. So, resuming his murder spree, Bill Bonin did not show up at his court appointment.
Ooh, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
He didn't go to court?
He had also returned to his parents' house, and he gradually developed a reputation as a child molester among the local residents there.
You know, it looks like he just went over and picked him up. He
You'd
lived in his
think.
mama's house.
Yeah, you'd think.
Hmm.
But he developed a reputation as a child molester among the
Wow.
local residents.
I'm shocked.
And due to his habit of inviting young boys into his house under the guise of providing alcohol and even viewing some pornography.
Hey, come on over. We have a big time.
Yeah, and there were some neighbors recalled observing the young boys accompanying Bill Bonin inside, and they would later hear some screaming and crying.
Mm. Yeah, but the folks in Bonin's family they said they never did hear nothing.
That's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah,
The ones living there.
brothers and his mama. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, on August the 20th, Bill Bonin picked up 18-year-old Robert Rywastek. I guess that's how you pronounce his name.
Probably works for me.
Yeah. This was in Newport Beach. And Bill allegedly coaxed him into performing oral sex by offering him $50.
$50.
Now, at knife point, Bill Bonin bound and raped him and then drove to Butts' residence. This was Vernon Butts'
So I guess he
residence.
didn't get his $50.
I guess not. And on the drive, Vernon Butts performed oral sex on this Wyrostek before striking him and taking Bonin's place as a driver. Now, Bill Bonin then tortured Wyrostek by bending his fingers and then sexually assaulting and bludgeoning him before strangling him.
So you can see just in this little bitty point, each one's getting a little bit worse.
I know. And his body was found on September the 27th along the I-10 freeway.
Interstate,
Yeah, Interstate 10. Now, on August the 27th, this was just 7 days later, Bill Bonin and Vernon Butts, they abducted a 15-year-old Hollywood boy. His name was Donald Ray Hayden on the Santa Monica Boulevard. Now, Vernon Butts was driving the van, and Bill Bonin offered him $50 for consensual sex. This is when Vernon made an accidental wrong turn in the van.
Yeah, Bonin and Hayden were in the back, and they were doing their consensual thing until he makes his wrong turn.
Yes. And this Hayden, he became frantic.
Yeah, he figured out what was going on.
And causing Bill Bonin to beat and bind and torture him, even sodomizing him. And then Bill Bonin then strangled him to death. And this is when Vernon Butts performed oral sex on his corpse before the two guys dumped his body at a construction site near the Ventura Freeway. And it was discovered hours later. And Hayden's rectal damage led to the coroner's theory that he'd been impaled by a large object.
My gosh.
Yeah.
On the corpse.
Yes. So it's just showing you that their brutality is just
escalating, and they're feeding off each other.
Increases more and more.
Yeah, every time. And it's so frequent.
Yeah. And there's so much more to get into, Dale. And we're going to continue this with a part 2 next time.
Yeah, I think so. There's so much more, and we can't rush this and pack it in. I think it'd be best.
Yeah, so we're going to, this will be the end of part 1. We'll do part 2 next week, and we'll be back with it and finish up the story.
Yes. Bill Bonin.
Bill Bonin.
The Freeway Killer.
All right, dude. We're going to get out of here, buddy.
All right, let's get out of here.
We want everyone to be safe. Please be careful and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is
the Crack House Chronicles.